the Vice President talking about how perhaps, the Philippines compromised in the South China Sea. Is the Philippines selling itself out to China?
I think definitely there has been a problem with the tactics of President Duterte. I think the strategy of opening up channels of communication with China was correct. In retrospect, we didn't have that under the previous administration. But I think in terms of making sure that we get proper concessions and we ensure reciprocity in terms of our relationship with China, we're not getting that. In fact, in the past 3 years, the situation has got worse for the Philippines. Even if we did not raise the arbitration award, even if we're so nice and kind to the Chinese, we had the incident in June whereby a Filipino fishing vessel was most likely rammed and sunk by a Chinese militia force. There was no apologies from China. Chinese militarization has intensified actually in areas close to the Philippine-held islands in the Spratlys, and the Philippine Islands actually are now being swarmed by the Chinese militia forces. So the question we're asking is, where is the result? Where is the concessions that the President Duterte was promising us when he said that let's be nice to China and in exchange we'll get a better situation on the ground?
Has it got to do with Chinese money? I mean, China has already committed $24 billion. Is that the reason why the Philippines, President Duterte, is swaying towards China?
As Linda, I've been going around the world and looking at the debt trap problem. Here in the Philippines, there's no such thing as debt trap because where's the Chinese money? I mean, if you go across Manila, across the country, you can barely find a single major Chinese infrastructure projects. I think what we're dealing with here is more of like a Chinese chimera. The promise of the Chinese money has kind of encouraged the Philippine government, particularly President Duterte, to toe the Chinese line. And the Philippines is playing also a very important role because for the next 2 years, the Philippines is also the ASEAN-China country coordinator. So the Philippines is actually at the forefront of towing the Chinese lines and making sure that the ASEAN is not united in the question of confronting China and the South China Sea issue.
How much is in the psyche of the Philippine people? If the tensions in the South China Sea is so important, Duterte's popularity doesn't explain.
Yeah, there's something almost schizophrenic with the Philippine service. I can go very, very deeply into that. But you see, on one hand, the president is supposed to be very popular. 8 out of 10 Filipinos are supposed to approve of him. But when it comes to the issue of the West Philippine Sea, South China Sea, and his relations with China, he's actually very isolated. He's very besieged. He was very defensive during his latest State of the Nation address because 9 out of 10 Filipinos actually want the Philippines to take a tougher stance. 86% of the Philippines want the Philippines to take the arbitration award against China. And now you have the president finally saying, okay, I will take the arbitration award to them. In fact, one of the things that you have to keep in mind is that Duterte's own generals keep on contradicting him. The Philippine National Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana has openly said China has been bullying the Philippines. The National Security Advisor Esperon openly said that the influx of Chinese workers, a lot of them staying here illegally, is not serving our national interests, and in fact, they could be a national security threat. So you have divisions within the Philippine government.
So how much can be achieved at the upcoming meeting quickly in 30 seconds between Duterte and Xi Jinping?
I think the game plan there for President Duterte is just to say, okay, we believe in the arbitration award, and China is going to say, we don't believe in it. There's going to be a deadlock on that issue. But the focus for Duterte is going to be this. I'm facing a lot of heat at home. Give me something. Bring down the tensions in the South China Sea. Do not harass us through your militia forces, your armada forces there. And at the same time, where's the money? Bring in the investment because the Filipino people are asking me to bring home something.